Okay, everyone, good morning. For those of you who have just joined us, good morning and welcome to the event Organisers Live virtual event. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Martin Fullard and I'm the editorial director at MASH Media, associated with magazines, exhibition news, and of course, conference news. Now, this session is a discussion about how to motivate staff, reboost employee morale, and reinstate confidence in event visitors. And I'm going to be joined by Neil Thompson, founder and managing director of the Delegate Wranglers, and Raoul Monks, founder and director of Flume Training. But before we head to the introductions to these two very esteemed panelists, we have a very short video from our headline sponsors, Uber.
Hi, my name is Maria Hafizova, and I'm a B2B marketing lead for Uber for Business in the UK. And today I'm going to be talking about one solution to quite a few different problems. Without further ado, please meet Uber gift cards. With Uber gift cards, you can motivate staff, reboost employee morale, and reinstate confidence in event visitors all at once or separately. That's up to you. As I was preparing for this presentation, I wasn't sure how to tackle all three things that are so important at once, but it seems like gift cards are a bit of an easy fix that quite a few of our clients are requesting at the moment. When it comes to motivating staff and saying thank you for your team for sticking with you throughout this difficult year, you can use gift cards to treat your employees to their favorite drinks or meals with Uber gift cards. And not everything about your Zoom meetings has to be virtual after all. For events,
customers inherently know when they are taken care of. It's what keeps them coming back again and again. Uber vouchers enable businesses to move their services beyond their door by making it easy to cover the cost of customer rides however the business decides. They let you create a memorable experience that will delight customers, giving them a personal connection and level of service that builds loyalty to your brand. Designing a voucher is easy, and it's completely customizable. You can scale up and down based on your goals, save and then share at scale. Encourage foot traffic at specific times, provide simplified alternatives for transportation, or offer a pick-me-up when plans change. No matter how you use vouchers, you have full control and only pay for what is used. You can even watch your campaign in real time and edit as needed. With just one click, turn customer service into customer loyalty. Visit uber.com/vouchers to get started.
I really do think that this video has said it much better than me. But here are a few other use cases where gift cards can take your customer experience and add it that needed boost. If your company party is going virtual this year, we have you covered with gift cards on Uber. You can deliver holiday meals to different guest locations, and you can set budgets easily with payments upfront, and you will know that this year you won't be picking up an unexpected tab after the event. As Uber is global, you can take your party global. You can organize bigger events and send treats to your attendees wherever Uber is available. Finally, you can use gift cards for event user acquisition, and you can send people lunch on you or a coffee before a webinar. You can thank your speakers, and you can make sure that everybody who has attended your event virtually also feels cared for in person. If you would like to try it for yourself, I stand by the fact that it's incredibly easy to use. Please don't be shy. Send me an email to mariakafizova@uber.com, and your next virtual lunch is not going to be so virtual anymore. And I'll be happy to pick up the tab and show you around our demo accounts. Thanks a lot, and stay in touch.
That's great. Thank you very much. Now, I am delighted to introduce our panelists, starting with Neil Thompson, MD and founder of Delegate Wranglers. Now, 22 years of experience in the industry. Neil actually operated his own freelance event management business from 2005 to 2019, organising mostly pharmaceutical events all over the world. How we would miss those right now. Then Neil decided he was going to found the Delegate Wranglers group in 2014. And since then, under careful, friendly and positive management, the group has organically grown to now more than 20,000 highly engaged, I hasten to add, members. In 2019, Neil was named as the M&IT Personality of the Year, and more recently, the group has achieved Facebook Community Managed Partner status. Neil speaks regularly on the events industry circuit, and even recently shared a panel at Createch with the Vice President of Facebook for Europe, Nicola Mendelsohn. Of course, joining Neil on this panel is Raoul Monks. Raoul is the founder of Flume Sales Training and is driven by helping businesses navigate their way through this crisis in the strongest way possible. He's a regular speaker at industry events and recently led a series of Flume webinars which attracted several thousand event professionals. He also writes regular sales columns in Exhibition News, I know because I have to sub-edit them, was recently called Closed One. Flume work with companies to put teams into the heads of their clients to create the most powerful sales and marketing approaches possible. They are well known in the events industry for their focus on driving measurable sales impact through training they provide. Raoul is also an ultra marathon runner, as I'm pretty sure you could probably guess looking at his slender physique. He's also a film buff and an avid reader of business books. Good morning to you both. How are you guys?
Really good. How are you?
Oh, never better. Good stuff. Okay, guys, we're going to jump straight into our first question. And Neil, I'm going to lead with you if I can. Just curious, really, what new initiatives have you introduced to help your people, your community to thrive throughout this pandemic, as hard as that may have been? And what would you be looking to introduce on the return to work to help boost morale and to maintain or even increase creativity levels?
Yeah, hi Marty. Hi everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for having me on this discussion. Since when COVID hit, back in March, I think we went to we were actually at Confex, which was one of the last events that sneaked in just before that started. And then we held our own event literally the Monday before it all happened on the Friday. And then from that point on, there was, like, for our industry, it's been utter devastation. I'm going to talk predominantly about the Delegate Wranglers Facebook group when I'm referring to we, because we're a fairly small team on the Delegate Wranglers. I mean, and we apply all these things to ourselves as well, but I will apply them to how we've been managing this throughout the group. So, the first thing that we did was we had to look after everybody wanted to vent, about the anger, about the situation, that they couldn't get any work and everybody was confused. And then it kind of settled down a bit. But right from the start, Marty, to be honest, all we did was set about helping people, because we realized that we were in a position to kind of keep people's morale up, not only by posting good news things and things like this, but also by actually physically helping them, stay relevant and keep talking. One of my mantras is don't keep quiet, be noisy, keep talking all the time, keep telling people about your brands, about what you're doing. So what we did was we offered everything for free. We're still doing it now. We're still offering free, job listings with us, free good news stories. So I think the mental health side of all of this, as well as, just your general morale, because you may be self-employed and not earning. The mental health part is really, really important. We work with Laura Capel-Abra from Stress Matters. We post regular things on there, and she's doing lots of amazing initiatives. So I think the combination of all those things, we've really tried to do physical, rather than just making posts about, things that can help. We've actually been doing things. We've showed up every day. I'm working just as hard. I mean, I'm not invoicing, but I'm working just as hard, if not harder, really, to be honest. And it's really been satisfying for me to be able to, do something about that and help people with the morale. And we get messages all the time how the group has kind of helped them go. And, we've introduced DW live shows where we upskill and we have special guests on, like you, Marty.
I don't know about
that. And you know, to help people, to give people a flavour of other jobs and upskilling, and you know, LinkedIn masterclasses and all kinds of things, really. So we're just trying to do a lot of practical things, you know, as well as the mental side as well. We're trying to do a lot of practical things to help people. Hope that answers your question.
It certainly does. And Raoul, I mean, I know you've been following what you guys have been doing. It's been quite incredible during the course of this pandemic. Maybe you give us a bit of an overview about what it is you've been doing to really kind of inspire your community, really.
Yeah, I mean, what I was thinking of in terms of this topic is there's two areas I can chat about. I'll try and be brief because I know time's relatively tight. But one is I can share about how we've tried to help the community. But two is how we've tried to help our clients in the event community to help their teams as well by working with them. So first bit is a very similar story actually to Neil's. So when the pandemic hit, actually 2 weeks before lockdown, we realized that things were going to be a real struggle for us as a sales training company and for the industry. And the first thing we did is we came together and decided that we had to work out why we exist. And that I could not encourage that more to anyone out there, is knowing right now, why do your clients need you to exist? And we realized the only reason the client would care about us, or the industry would care about us, is if we could help the industry get through this. It had to be a common cause. So that was the central point that allowed us to then work out, right, how can we fulfill that cause? And we realized there were three main ways at that point. One was helping sales teams to navigate a difficult process. Two was sales leaders and helping them manage remote teams. And three was kind of that pivot to digital and helping the digital piece complement the coming back of the event. So we launched webinars. Like you said, we got in total about 4,000 people came to those webinars, over 8 webinars. And we didn't expect that at all. We didn't have a community before that. And within 4 or 5 weeks, we had 4,000 people, which was amazing. And I hope that's because, and I have heard that's because it was the inspiring and the kind of leadership that was there that I think people needed. They needed someone, a company, to kind of take the lead that they could bounce off, whether they believed or not what we were saying and trying to help with. It started a conversation. Our whole focus really in terms of our business and trying to help the industry was around communication. And it was made up of 4 main areas. Number 1 was listen to the industry. What do they care about? What are their urgent needs? What can't they do? What do they need to solve? 2 was learn. Like, we spoke to so many clients, i.e. buyers of media and event, but also sellers and sales teams and sales leaders. So listen, learn, share as much as we could, best practice out there, and also celebrate. So the small wins and the big wins, and try and get that out in the open to people, because what good looks like had changed. And it couldn't just be talking about the massive deals that come in, because that wasn't happening. So it's trying to create I suppose a communication around mastery, getting better and better and better, and allowing people to share that. So that's what we did as a business. In terms of what we're working with businesses to do in their businesses, if that makes any sense, there is some, I suppose you can take some lessons from what I just said just then. But the first thing is leadership, and making sure that if you want to increase morale and creativity, people need to buy into the leadership and why they exist and why they're there and what their common purpose is. There needs to be guidelines and accountability, and people need to know what good looks like in their role. That has to be there up front, so people know when they're doing well or not. That playbook kind of needs to be rewritten and bought into, but also that creativity thing. And I know we haven't got too much time, but it's a really fascinating one for me, because creativity in my head is probably the most important thing right now. But most people struggle to be creative because they look at everything from their own perspective. The crucial thing right now is, as much as possible, and it's what we try and do, shift perspective to that of the client and that of the audience. The more you can shift your teams, whatever they do, sales teams or marketing or content, into the head of the audience or into the head of the client, and think, what is going to make it easier for the audience or client to engage, and use that as the pivot point to create brainstorms, the better. So it's kind of always coming back to that common question: what does the client or audience need? And that allows for a more brainstormy, creative environment.
That's really interesting. And you sort of touched on what the next question's about, really, but I'm going to just fire this back to Neil first, because I'm curious for his views. Now, obviously, Neil, there are, several campaigns floating around at the moment, one being, the one industry, one voice, which is a huge cross-industry movement, Project Confidence, of course, We Make Events, let the music play. If, we're looking at our colleagues over there in the world of music and culture, Get Britain Meeting, they're all out there. But how do we instill confidence in our employees, I guess, as perhaps community owners or business owners? And how do we kind of then take that further and instill confidence in our event attendees?
Yeah, I think first of all, what we need fairly rapidly, and especially given the announcement recently, is a bit of guidance from the government about, what is clear we can and can't do, as event organisers, as an industry, generally. I mean, we've had so many questions on the group, literally the same question saying, can I hold a meeting of 25 people? Or is it 6? Or is it 15? Or what type of meeting does it depend on? There's a lot of that. So I think the first thing we need is absolutely cast iron guarantee of what are the guidelines that we're working to. Then we can start to put things in plans. And I know me and Raoul were chatting a couple of days ago, some of the things we were talking about was, training, we can put in training plans. So say you're a hotel owner, you can train your staff so that they completely understand not only what's safe for them to do, but how they get that across to the clients as well coming in. Because that's the ultimately important thing. First of all, yeah, it's a given that they should be safe and working in a safe environment. But of course, they need to get that message across. It's almost like, I think, passing your driving lesson. You can look in your mirror with your eyes, or you can turn your head, which my instructor always told me to, turn your head and really look at it. And I think it's going to be a matter of all the kind of hotels and us as suppliers will have to be doing that thing, turning our head and showing exactly over the top what we're doing to be safe. But I think first of all, it starts with, processes, standard operating procedures, all those things. But I can't emphasize enough, we need guidelines from the government to be able to then spin that out from there. It's quite difficult to, go to your teams and tell them this is the new normal. This is how we need to operate. This is how we need to operate for ourselves. And this is how we need to operate for the clients. Okay, they're fairly similar, but I think it should be a bit more emphasis on when the clients are there so that they feel safe and we can demonstrate that. Also with marketing as well, we need to, like I said before, don't shut up, keep shouting, keep telling people, get accreditation, tell clients what you can do. And then that the reverse of that is that it comes back to your employees as well. So I think all of those things, Marty, but I can't say enough. Guidance from above is what we need at the moment. I know me and you are particularly prominent about shouting and asking for it all the time. So
I love how you describe the situation as quite difficult. Yeah, that might be a bit understated. Raoul, I mean, same question to you, but I guess maybe from your perspective, as one of the top sales trainers, I guess it's about inspiring your teams, isn't it? Really leading from the front.
Yeah, I think that is really, really true. That kind of leading from the front, couldn't agree more. And all of Neil's points, I'm totally behind. But I'll add a couple of others just to flesh this out a little bit. So I think the number one is, if you think about what confidence is, it's about having certainty. And the problem is at the moment, there's so much uncertainty. Uncertainty breeds anxiety. And the antithesis of anxiety, what's going to quash it, is a plan. But you can only plan on the stuff you know. So my point here is kind of, what can you control? What can you plan? And being able to put together a plan as a business and say, this is where we need to be in 6 months, almost whatever happens. And I know that is a bit of a weird thing to say, but we need to think, what can we control? So being able to create a vision with that team and work out where you need to be and create stage goals. We call them rocks. It comes from a book called The Rockefeller Habits. Rocks. Where do you need to be in 2 months, 4 months, 6 months? And as a company, you work towards them. As a team, you work towards them. As an individual, you work towards them. And that gives people purpose. And I think that's really important. How that also then plays down, because it kind of filters down from leadership down to sales and then down in through the clients or the attendees, is that if the salespeople are confident in what they're talking about, then the clients will be confident. And that is slightly not true if the clients are completely against stuff, but there is a massive thing. There's a thing called a mirror neuron in your brain, which basically means if someone else is really confident or smiley or sad, you'll share that emotion. Very, very, very true in terms of sales. And so the salespeople need to be confident in what they're selling, right? And that means, again, things need to have been created for the right reasons because they're going to work for clients. The salespeople need to think, if I was a client, I'd buy it. And what that means is actually about being honest to clients as well. And what I mean by that is being honest about what we do and don't know. Because we don't know if in February, I had a call earlier from someone asking me to come to an event, if in February it's going to run or not. We don't know that. And thinking about actually a backup plan. What is plan B? Because that's what the clients are thinking about. That's where the confidence will come from if they realize you've actually thought from their perspective there's a plan B for them. And so it's being really honest about what you can and can't control, but trying to de-risk the buying process for the clients as much as possible. The more you can do that, the easier it is for the salespeople to have confidence and go out and actually start talking to clients with conviction and actually getting people saying yes.
That's a really interesting point. And I guess that, again, well, naturally leads me on to the next question. So, Neil, I'm going to kind of come back to you. Client needs and requirements, they've changed in this new world, since look back to February, March. How can we change the mindset of these employees now coming back, say, off the furlough? I guess when you're managing a community like Delegate Wranglers, that capacity for shared knowledge is going to be absolutely vital, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. The thing is, I think the opportunities that are opening up because of this, now don't get me wrong, I wish, this hadn't happened, absolutely, for many, many reasons. But there are going to be some opportunities in the industry, when things do start to return back to normal. Because I think, I know I've been on panels before with you, Marty, and we talk about hybrid. It's not going to be hybrid. It's going to be just, integrated with an event. So you might do an exhibition where the booth will naturally have some kind of online presence as well. Because, why miss out on that reach? So I think sharing all that information between each other, is so massively important. All these solutions that we've got, things like that. We see it on our group all the time. People are coming up with amazing solutions and amazing ideas and sharing them. I can't emphasize enough how important it is for us all. This is, and I've made a LinkedIn post about this. This is not a time to be competitors with people. This is a time to collaborate with people, share knowledge. There's no winners and losers. We all need to be winners together. Then we can get, of course, competitiveness is naturally there. But at the moment, we're all on the same team. So I think sharing confidence with each other about what works, what ideas, what solutions, what's the point? The whole ethos behind the Delegate Wranglers is that we share and collaborate information. Why keep this knowledge about, the best coach company to yourself, when other people could be benefiting from that as well. So I think all that's really key when we come back. I for one share, information with people all the time.
Great stuff. And Raoul, what about you? I mean, needs, requirements, always changing. We have to change the mindset of employees. They're coming back into a different world. What do you think is the best way to do that?
I think there's two things. I think there's one in terms of the mindset attitude of those salespeople, and two is in terms of the mindset, in terms of how they actually sell. In terms of the attitude of those people, to be able to work from home or 2 days in, 3 days at home, it requires a different kind of mentality, I think. And some people struggle, some people don't. But trying to encourage where you can do assertive attitudes or working with people who are assertive, growth mindset, always getting better and better. That kind of learning continuously is absolutely crucial. And allowing people to say, I don't know how to do this bit is really important, that vulnerability bit. But also accountability is absolutely crucial. People being accountable for what they're doing. And we need to try and encourage that. It's not always easy, but we need to try and create environments where that is possible through leadership. The other bit with mindset is, how does someone returning from furlough, but also I'd argue anyone right now, shift their mindset to one which is going to help the client buy? And that's the principle. Help the client say yes, because it is incredibly tough. And the way that we've found to do that, and it's not rocket science, is don't tell your sales teams or any of your teams what they should do. Shift their perspective to the people they need to influence, the clients or the audience, and look at their life, look at their world, look at what's changed, and brainstorm how it's become more difficult to buy or to make a decision. What that will then do, it will allow the client, your salespeople, to say, actually, I can see why I need to change. The other bit here is if you can introduce some form of new playbook or benchmark as to what good looks like in terms of their role, it allows them to see, that's where I need to be. This is where I am now. And it sounds a bit formulaic, but fundamentally, no one has a rule book right now because everything's changed. So the quicker you can create one or steal one off us because we've got one, which is a benchmark for selling in today's changed world, then it allows you and your team to say, actually, we're really good at this, not so good at this. This is where we need to focus. And that's all born out of working out what's going to make it easier for that client to actually say yes. And I think that's the crucial thing. Give them an identification as to what good looks like. Neil, I think you had your pen up there, but
yeah, I was just going to say as well, I think it's like, and you know, I've described this with when you're building a community, it's like pushing a snowball up a hill. At first, it's going to be really, really difficult getting that client confidence and getting our employee and client confidence to all work together, if you like. And then I think there's going to be a tipping off point when the confidence will come back and then it will come flooding back. But I think until we get to that point, we've all got to get our hands behind the snowball and push it up.
Yeah, and I think Neil, really good point there, actually, something I forgot to say, which is looking for incremental gains. So what we used to do is kind of look at who's got the biggest deal and maybe celebrate it in sales. But actually right now, it's like who had the best conversation, who learned the biggest thing, who found something new out of our client and brainstormed a different way to solve it. Celebrating small wins like the 1%, the 5% incremental improvement in terms of sales approaches so that you can, as a company, be the company with the sales and marketing teams that are the strongest. Because the reason clients are buying right now, 53% of why clients choose one option over another is down to the sales experience. And so being a sales experience that is worth paying for itself has never been more important. So just looking at kind of those incremental gains as you're pushing the snowball up the hill is the way to do it, as opposed to just wishing you were at the top of that mountain.
Absolutely. We've got one more question for you guys, and then we're going to kind of move on to our next stage. But I would like to take this opportunity to encourage our audience out there to pop any questions you might have for Neil or Raoul into the Q&A box, which you should see in the bottom of your screen. We'll have time to go to audience Q&A at the end. So next question, really, Neil, we're going to come back to you here. What do you feel is the best way to sort of cultivate team unity, particularly amid this age of social distancing or physical distancing or whatever you want to call it?
Oh, it's a really tough one because, you know, when this first happened, you know, everybody was doing, particularly when we were under lockdown, I guess, everybody was doing the Zoom calls and the party calls and your Zoom drinks with your friends and, you know, and trying to build this community. Now people are coming back together, and I am seeing some novel ways, they might still be doing the Zoom calls, but they're sending things out to people to join in with, like a drink or a cocktail or things like this. But I think it's so important, that side, because there's so much uncertainty at the moment, particularly for people who are kind of furloughed at the moment as well. You know, they don't know whether they're going to come back to an event and what the company's going to look like when they do. Nobody does. I think as Raoul said earlier, you know, it's really important to be adaptive to your situation, you know, make some plans, but you really don't know what's going to do. I mean, to answer your question about, you know, the social things, I mean, we've had tons of people doing, you know, team building things, you know, raising the spirit, incentives, that kind of things. We've seen like lots of event organizers asking for ideas for that on the group for clients who are looking to engage with people. So to me, that's a good thing. You know, it shows that the industry's moving in the right direction, that we're all trying to look after each other. Again, I'm going to come back to the mental health side. It's massively important, you know, just a regular check-in with people or regular coffee with people. Take the time to do this, guys. You know, there's no, you know, everything you do at the moment doesn't have to be for a sales win. Let's look after each other, look after people, make sure we're okay, because then when we're all right, the industry's going to come back. We're going to be in a position to be able to start selling again, you know, when that comes around. But in the meantime, let's treat each other with care, you know, and respect, you know, have respect for people and look out for each other, check in on them, have a coffee, that kind of thing. You know, be that virtual or you know, in the flesh, you can actually meet up with people. So, yeah, but my message is look out for each other, definitely.
And Raoul, same question to you, really. Maybe based more on a camaraderie between sales personnel. What's the best way to sort of like galvanize that unity?
Yeah, I think it's so important an area. So number one, I think, is prioritize, align, and communicate. So essentially, work out that vision, that purpose, work out how people need to be behaving and working together, and communicate consistently, face to face where you can. Like this, I know people are getting Zoom lethargy, but it is mix it up. Yes, have a few phone calls, but the more people can have something like human interaction, the better. Another piece is, and actually Neil just touched on it here, is kind of creating common rituals. So getting people used to, and it might be a happy hour every week, or it might be that you give your teams 2 hours every single week to go and create or brainstorm something or solve a problem, a mini project. And the tip there is to find a sweet spot in terms of difficulty. So giving them a mini project that's going to push them and get them feeling like they're doing something and making a difference, and come back and present it. It could be they have to go and speak to 10 clients and brainstorm with those clients amazing solutions to the client's problems that currently you don't have, and they can introduce it back to the company. But it means they feel like they're doing something, making a difference, and kind of celebrating those wins where you can. The other side of it is trying to drive intrinsic motivation where you can. And what we mean by that is there's a lot, especially in sales, of carrot and stick incentives. And actually right now, selling is more intelligent and creative than ever before. And actually carrot and stick is proven to stifle creativity and productivity. So trying to create environments that encourage mastery, autonomy and purpose in your teams, and get them learning, get them owning, and get them knowing why they're doing it is absolutely crucial right now. The couple of tips here is some obvious ones, but check in with your teams as a team on a regular basis. Once a week at Flume, what we do is really basic. I'm sure everyone does something like this, but every Monday morning we have a check-in, which is about a 30-minute conversation. We start with all of our team, one thing you did really well last week or that went really well, could be anything. And then we talk about, okay, where did you get against where you needed to get to? Where against our rocks do we need to be by the end of the week, and what's your focus? And any help that anyone needs. And then we check in the next Monday. But that's that kind of regular accountability piece of trying to get people to work together. The other bit is coaching, like co-coaching, working with each other to continuously learn and come back and say, this is what I learned this week. This is what didn't work. How can we overcome this? And it brings people together to start sharing around what's working and what's not working for clients, or depending on what their role is for the audience, whatever. And the final bit, back to Neil's well-being bit, mental health. I couldn't be more behind this than ever. But one of the crucial things is back to the old never, ever cancel a one-to-one. I know we're talking about camaraderie and team unity, but the opportunity to speak to an individual and get them to voice how they feel and genuinely listen. It's so important to listen, and we think we're great at it. But boy, is it never been more important right now than just to give people a sounding board. And although that's not about the team, it's about the individual. The team is made up of individuals. So making sure we're focusing on them and personalizing that experience is key.
That's great. Okay, guys, thank you very much for that. Now, don't go away anywhere, because the audience, I'm sure, will have some questions for you. But before we move to that stage, we're now going to move to our champion solution session, and I'm delighted to introduce Big Bang Promotion.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Hello, John. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Good morning. So my name's John Snape. I run a company called Big Bang Promotions. I specialize in corporate activities for family fun days and also charity fundraising for companies and charities throughout the UK. I do my charity fundraising for companies with zip wires, bungee jumping, abseiling, and also catapulting. Those activities can be done throughout the country at events that we put on, or we can come to your place of work and do those activities in your car park, for instance, if you have a building that can be abseiled or zip wired from, etc. So regarding camaraderie and staff engagements, we have the product for you without question. In addition, we have events up and down the country which your staff can book onto in small groups of 10s, 20s, 50s, etc. And also further, we also offer segways as well throughout the UK. We have a fleet of 50 machines, 15 venues nationwide. We can do corporate events at your place of work on a 2-hour session, or as you see from the photograph there, we can bring our road operation for, say, a family fun day up to 200, 300 people. All insured, all fully COVID secure, public liability insurance in place, risk assessments, etc. And if regarding, credibility and who we are, and we know what we're doing, just to give you an idea of what we can be capable of, the stunt that you may have seen on Top Gear earlier this year, where Freddie Flintoff was bungee jumped off a dam in Switzerland, we did that operation. So safety is paramount with ourselves, but also experiences. So anybody interested, please give me a call, have a chat, just have a chat about what your thoughts are. And thank you very much for your time.
Hi, I'm Christian Hobbs from Unique World, a global DMC supplier network. I'm excited to present to you Unique RFP, an event and luxury buyer solution for connecting you instantly to our creative DMCs, a fun and exclusive community with unique rewards for charity and much more. It's a virtual world for now, so we're connecting you directly to 85 plus DMC offices. Sign up via uniqueworldglobal.com/unique RFP. And here's how it works.
Okay, guys. Right. So I think we may have to rerun the Inspire Me travel company message again later, but we will jump to a quick Q&A. We've got 3 questions in, all anonymous, it turns out, funnily enough. Maybe people are afraid. Raoul, first question to you. It's a fairly blunt one. It reads, how do you deal with pressure when there are no sales out there? Is that perhaps a question of attitude, if nothing else? You're muted, Raoul. I did that a minute ago.
Hopefully you can hear me now. I suppose it depends where the pressure is coming from, without giving too random an answer. But if the pressure is coming from above, then I would question the tactics or strategy of the people above, because ultimately when there are no sales coming, the best thing that can actually happen, if there are no sales possible, the best thing that can actually happen is to try and cultivate those client relationships right now, so that when those clients are ready to bounce back, they see you. And so trying to go into those conversations without, I've got to get sales in, but actually I'm here to try and help my clients as much as possible right now, is by far the best way to go in it. Our first ever webinar we talked about 3 main things people should use, which is empathy, purpose, and value, and try and add those 3 to every single conversation. Your job is to listen and to try and help where you can, and the sales will come off of that, whether immediately or later on. So I do think that there is a case of working out how can you take you need to keep pressure on your staff, but not pressure which is undue and impossible. And they need to know what good looks like from each conversation. So I suppose it's changing the parameters around what good looks like on a weekly basis, and back to that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%. What can you do this week to be in a better place when those clients are ready to bounce back? Oh, sorry, there is one other thing.
Go for it.
Trying to be as innovative as possible. So not being just dead stuck on what you can sell or what you've always sold, but listen to the clients, find out what they're talking about. Ask them, look, if you're in our position, what's the thing that we don't or no one provides that's going to help you survive right now, or get the results you need, or solve the problems you've got? And try and flex where you can and create solutions that the clients need now.
Absolutely, sage advice. Neil, is a good one for you. Again, we don't know who it's from, and it's just simply asked, what's the mood like on Delegate Wranglers at the moment?
Oh, you'd have asked me 48 hours ago. It'd have been different to now. Yeah, no, it's, you know what? There's a bit of everything, and there's a bit of frustration. There's a lot of positivity as well. We're getting big inquiries still. You know, we had an inquiry for 6,500 people for a dance event in June. I mean, you know, the inquiries are still coming through. So it's a mixture, really. You know, it's just like society. It's like a cross section of society, really. You'll get some people who will, you know, somebody will post something positive up, and some people will find a negative way to take it, or a realistically negative view of that. I'm a kind of glass half full kind of person, so I'm always trying to be inspiring and trying to be uplifting to people and trying to deliver good news. Of course, we have to deliver bad news as well. But, you know, I was always brought up on the, you know, working for agencies and things as, you know, if you've got bad news, you need to have a solution for it as well. You know, it's not just you go, well, here's the problem and shrug your shoulders. You know, you can't do that. You need to think about positively. So I think the barometer is, yeah, we're kicking the teeth about the restart date, the 1st of October being put back. There's a bit of confusion about what dates, you know, what we can do, what we can do. One thing I'm kind of advocating, Marty, was I wish if the government tell us 6 months is a starting point for everything again, let's have a regular agreed update from them, like say maybe once a month, so we know whether those dates are realistic. Because the event industry is not like a shop or a retail shop or a pub or something where you can close for 2 weeks and then open the next day and get customers. It doesn't work like that. We've got a longer lead time, as you know, I don't need to tell anybody that. So if they could give us some kind of indication, you know, treat us, you know, with enough respect so that we can do that. Because this is not just a selfish thing. This is for the economy. This is for all those knock-on effects. So 70 billion. I don't know what the figures are, Marty, at the moment, but I know it was 70 billion pounds last time we spoke. Is that right?
70 billion pounds for the events industry, all encompassing. That's conference, meeting, exhibition, incentive, travel, festivals, music, culture, sport. 84 million if you add the weddings industry on top of that.
Wow. So, you know, like, this is not just us saying, well, you know, being selfish. This is looking after the economy as well. So give us a little bit more information than what we got. Now, I'm not asking for the world. All I want is an update on whether you think those dates are still doable. We had 8 days notice on this one to suddenly say, oh, by the way, it's not. And the mood initially when that announcement came out was my clients cancelled. My clients have cancelled that event. The client, you know, we saw the meet and show get, you know, the actual live side of it, and also CHS show get cancelled as well. So it's frustrating, Marty, to be honest. I think there's a lot of frustration out there, but there is positive and optimism, you know, in there. It's just, we need more guidance. We need more guidance. And you know, as Raoul said, we need to stay positive, you know, keep talking, keep listening. Most importantly, keep listening to what your clients are saying. You know, it doesn't all have to be about sales and about, you know, you need to know this. Talk to them, get to know them as people, work on your relationship side rather than just the commercial side of things. On the whole, the group's still holding together. We're still there, you know, people are still positive, people are still showing up. People are still posting in our supplier hour all the time. So I think, yeah, we're just trying to keep that vibe there, Marty, to be honest, you know, not let it slip into too much doom and gloom. It's
absolutely. And this is what happens when you try to run the country, making your decisions based on popular opinion polling rather than, you know, evidence. But never mind, this is not a political debate. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a very confusing and distressing time for the industry, and we do have to stick together. Communities like DW are vital right now. We've got one more question here from our good friend Anonymous. Up to their old tricks. Raoul, it is definitely aimed at you. It's a bit of a, I'm not sure, a tricky one. You're pretty good at answering questions. We'll throw it at you and see what happens. It reads, does being creative in selling mean diversifying a business? I mean, do we risk alienating our core market if we move too far from what we know? Is that what people are taking out of your meaning of creativity in selling?
I think it's a really brilliant question. And I think there's 2 answers to it. One is, I think ultimately right now, there is a diversification necessary whilst events are postponed and we're waiting to find out what's happening. So being able to supply your clients with things which are going to help them to get clients themselves is absolutely crucial right now, so that we're not forgotten when those events can run again. So being able to diversify where possible and flex and offer solutions, marketing solutions, which are going to help drive leads, thought leadership and branding is really key. But there is, it's a really great question, because a lot of people, when they think about being creative, they think about being creative with brand new platforms. But actually, the creativity needs to come from the audience behavior. And what I mean by that is, if we can start, and a lot of you guys who are listening will be doing this anyway, but start getting our clients thinking from the audience's perspective and thinking, what do the audience need? What's stopping the audience choosing you? What would they need? Then you can start to create the right messages for the client and with the client that will engage the audience in whatever platform. The platform almost doesn't matter. It's about getting the message right for the client by getting the client into the audience's shoes. And that's where the creation comes from, co-creation, by putting a different hat on the client and saying, let's be the audience and let's work out what they need for you to have any attention. So it's not just being creative around platforms, it's being creative around message, but the key and essential point is getting both you and the client into the head of the audience.
That is a fantastic answer, and one I think we are going to end on. We've come to the end of our session. Neil, Raoul, I cannot thank you enough for some fantastic contributions there. Thank you so much. Please say goodbye to our audience.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks a lot.
Guys, thank you.
Very good. And now, folks, we're going to head to a 10-minute screen break, and we'll be back in at 11:45 for our next session. Thank you for joining us.